On episode 357 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Carol Clements and discuss her book, Better Balance for Life. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/357. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Our guest today has more than 40 years of experience as a personal trainer and currently works with older populations. With no further ado, here's Carol Clements. Carol, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I was so happy to see your book. When I reached out, I was like, yes, we're not talking about this enough. Everybody's talking about, getting stronger, building endurance, being able to do what we want to do in our lives. But, as I was doing some research on this issue, because, in my mind, and I've even said this on the podcast a couple times, is that my balance is not what it needs to be. And I've always known that. It's only now that I'm in my 50s that I'm starting to say, okay, I have to start doing some work on this, because it's not going to get better by my acknowledging the problem. I actually have to do something about it.
Right. Well, it's definitely trending in, media. There's lots of scary statistics about falling and aging and balance. And then, of course, in the fitness industry, there's a big trending balance. You've got the BOSU training balls, and you have stability balls, and Stephen Curry standing on a wobble board and shooting baskets. So everyone knows kind of that this balance training edge is very productive because of the unifying of the body to become stable on unstable apparatus, which is what they call it at the gym.
Yes.
But I didn't want my book to be about what you would do at the gym. So I had to create the instability just in the person's daily life that would be safe and they could practice balancing.
Yeah, a few of the statistics I saw when I was doing the research on the topic of balance, it was something like 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 fall each year.
1 in 3.
1 in 3. Okay, so it's going up, I'm sure. And then the other problem is, okay, they end up going to the hospital. So you end up with, people going to the hospital. I think it was 300,000 in the United States per year, and 29,000 deaths attributed to falls.
That's what I mean about the scary statistics.
And
it's really, it's a phenomenon that needs to be addressed as a preventative.
Yes. Now, I tell people this. I say, okay, your likelihood of falling over the age of 65 is just astronomically high. Why do we fall?
Well, that's very complicated because it can be inner ear issues, it can be visual impairment, it can be medication, or frankly, disease, a pathology of some kind. There's, in the most extreme examples, Parkinson's or MS, but actually my book does not encompass that kind of reason for fear of falling or balance issues. It really addresses more a physical, more straightforward situation where as the person ages, they become less active and maybe they sit more, their balance system isn't turned on because they're sitting in a stable position too much of the time. So, I can't cover all the reasons for falling because they're so beyond what my book really addresses. But even so, even if you had medication or a condition, neuropathy in your feet or something, you could still do a lot of these activities and improve your balance.
Yeah, that was what I liked about this, because when I've talked to a lot of people about falls, it typically comes down, like you said, there's going to be those conditions, medical style conditions that we have. The second stage of it is that we've lost some strength, and that's
Right.
going to contribute to the fall. And unfortunately, without the muscle mass, more likely to hurt ourselves when we fall. Then of course there's the fact that when we're afraid to fall, we're more likely to fall because we shorten our gait, we get tighter, we tense our body.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I've lived in the South for a vast majority of my life, and whenever I travel up north and there was ice, I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking like a duck, and I know that's not the right way to do it, but I can't help myself because I've fallen before, and there's just this fear of falling that's in there.
Right.
And then the
Yeah,
final
that's
piece of it
mhm.
is that we just don't practice.
Right. So all of those things that you said are right on. It's lower body strength. In terms of predictors for falling, according to the research, and they kind of do an arbitrary test where, say, you have to stand up from sitting without using your arms, and then 5 years later, the people who couldn't do that have fallen, or the
Yeah.
studies were in some ways a little arbitrary, like they would do a test for agility, and the agility test was how quickly you could walk around a chair. Whatever, they have to have uh, empirical
We
data
actually, and
to collect.
unfortunately, yeah, I'm a functional fitness certified functional fitness specialist, and yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's still the test that they teach us, is to get up,
Really?
walk around, and yeah, the
Ah,
chair, and sit back down. It is not a bad test. The
right.
problem is, from a somewhat of a liability perspective, you don't want the client to fall, so you know
Right.
that they're going to walk slower when their perception of falling is worse. And typically their perception is correct. So what you're looking for is for that person to give you indicators that we need to spend time on gait and balance, because they've given
Mhm.
some of that up.
Right. So then you've got the lower body strength, you have the coordination agility factor, we'll just call it. And then, as you pointed out, the fear of falling is an enormous indicator of whether you will fall in the future. So I thought, as I was writing, now how can I help the reader feel more confident so that they remain active and they get the opportunities of being active that provide balance practice, strength, all the things we've talked about, and the confidence so that they won't be so fearful.
Now,
So those are really the three major goals.
yeah, and you're right. I guess the question I have now, in the book, you use these, you call them the 5 principles of body balance, and I
Of a
think that,
body imbalance, yeah.
yes, a body imbalance. And I think, in a sense, for me, that created a really good framework to explain what we're going to be able to actually do at home. And we'll talk about those activities in a moment. But this just set a really good framework. I thought if someone actually sits down and kind of goes through and understands these 5 things, they're going to genuinely know the things that they should be adding to their activity level. And so, can you talk through those 5 principles, because I do think they're fundamental for our move forward in understanding this.
Yeah, they're really, in some ways, postural connections so that when the reader gets to the 10-week plan, they have some kind of functional uh, way of aligning their body. So, for instance, start at the top with the head and compare it to a helium balloon. So, it's really kind of lining up and finding the arms in the back instead of in your neck and chest, which would be, a curved over hunched position. And then ways to stretch the front of the chest so that you can get your shoulders to be part of your back. By that, I mean the shoulder blades and you and I would call them lats, but you can just think of it as the side of the back. And then there's this very difficult one, which I was labored to write because it's hard, about the abdomen and how there's a connection between your upper body and your lower body, and that I want that for the participant reader to feel like that comes from the front, because as you age, you begin to be more lax about sort of what we call a sort of front body core, and use the back to kind of hold you up and keep you, okay, this is my stance. So it was difficult, and I'm hoping the reader doesn't get too frustrated with that section, but it was too important to leave out. Then I move on to the hip, because as you age, you begin to hinge at the hip, forward, like imagine someone with a cane. They're bent over and then they can't access the glutes. So I'm trying the buttocks muscle. So I'm trying to get length in front of the hip. And then the feet, because your feet in shoes sometimes become less active. You're not really using the foot in an articulate way to push off. So those are the 5 that I just wanted to make sure there was a consciousness about those body parts and how they work together, because you're going to need that when you get to the 10-week plan and do the balancing and strengthening.
Yes. And I think that's where this whole, the light came on for me as I was going through the book was, I know the gait, the shorter gait and the tighter gait is a problem, but I had not really put together the entirety of the whole system, which I should as a personal trainer. That's what I should be thinking about all the time. It is when I'm working with my clients, but I didn't turn that same logic onto myself, that it's about your posture and your ability to hold good posture. And so looking at those imbalances, is your head leaning forward? Is your arms collapsed forward? And is your, your waist, you're sort of leaning forward. Your hips are now, in a bad position because you can't use your glutes when you're walking. And now your feet, are not strong enough, and nimble enough. And it's kind of, I know that we say this all the time, and I need to start practicing. I do walk barefoot a good bit here in Florida, but I don't really, I would say, like I could probably pick up a marble with my toes, but I couldn't do a lot of the things that I should be able to do. And so from the top to the bottom, I just think, it really, that's where the light came on for me, is that this is a whole body posture thing. It's not just a practice balance thing. It's all of it.
And all of those principles, I felt like were going to give just the foundation from which to build the strength and the coordination and the balance that we're going to work on. You can't think of everything at once, and that's why I said that about getting frustrated. But it's just a process. I even say in the book, be patient with yourself. And the whole idea that not being able to maintain a balance at first is really a success, because the whole point is to be in an unstable position and to recruit, like I said, all these sensory, physiological, and musculoskeletal aspects of what makes a person centered within themselves to balance, and practice that. So it's okay if you not fall, I don't mean the bad kind of fall, that you teeter out of your balance, because that was an experience that you'll be able to use, say, if you step on a curb and you feel like you've lost your balance. You've had practice with doing that. Your body knows more what to do.
Yes, and it's sort of like just about anything you do. I mean, it's when you first got in the car to drive, there was this fear that was probably gripped. I know it gripped me the first time I got behind a stick shift, and the driver's ed teacher wants to put you up on a hill and have you do the clutch gas thing, and I was like, okay, I don't want the car to die and do the little jackrabbit here, and then you're in town and it's doing it. The car behind you's kind of laughing at you because it says driver's ed on the car, so he knows what you're going through. But I was incomplete. But over time, you practice being in that position. It's not dangerous, but you get more comfortable and less fear.
Right.
Now,
and the natural automatic responses of driving. Now you don't even have to think about driving, right? It's just complete. I mean, you know what I mean? The automatic feeling.
Which can get scary in and of itself when you get somewhere. It's like, my brain was somewhere else while we were doing this drive, but I'm glad I'm here safe. But your body automatically.
But the body remembers and will do it. So we're trying to get that automatic response going in the person's body with balancing.
Now, I was completely open and honest that my balance, I know this is an area that I need to put more and more focus on going forward. If someone wanted to do just a basic balance test, now don't do this if you're driving, but when you're home or when you're at a safe place, always do your balance test in a safe place. So if you do actually lose your balance, you're not going to hurt yourself. But if someone wanted to do the basic balance test, what would you tell them to do?
Well, the one that I use in the book is really more just an assessment personally of the person, not like I'm trying to rate how good is the person's balance, but how do you feel when you're wavering? So I have the person stand, behind a very sturdy chair and place your hands on the chair back and then put feet right next to each other. So there's a very narrow base. And then gradually let go of the chair and cross your arms over your chest. If you close one eye, you will feel, and then if you feel okay, the other eye, you will feel the wavering of the body balancing, going slightly forward and backward and side. And how do you feel about that? Is it scary? Does it make you want to suddenly go stiff, or can you relax into that wavering motion, the instability, and be okay just seeing it from the inside, experiencing it?
And
for
I think
me, that was the better test because we can't see what everyone's doing that's using the book, but they can experience and see for themselves how they feel about balancing.
Absolutely, and like I said before, your general perception when you're in a situation like that is probably reality. If you're not comfortable and you're wavering more than you feel like you should, and you have that urge to want to tense up and grab that chair, those are indicators that this is a modality that you can start working on.
Right, and it's good to grab the chair because we don't want you to fall.
We don't want to fall, right?
But it just gives you the experience and to say, yes, I do feel tense about this, and then maybe try it again and go, okay, I can stay with this a little bit longer until it really feels too threatening. But definitely always, opening the eyes or coming off of one leg or whatever the balance situation is, you want to trust your instincts that you need to come out of that challenge when you need to.
Yes. And the cool, I guess, tagline of this book in some lines should be, and you can fix it, and you can get better at balance. Now, you talked about the implements that are in a gym, and honestly, a lot of folks just really don't want the gym membership, and they don't want to go over into the corner with that odd-looking contraption and try to figure out some exercises, and probably, because they're on a padded floor, they fall over, and then they just, that's not fun. And so in a lot of cases, but we can do things to work on our mobility, our strength, and our balance. We can do that in our own home. And what I like is that in the book, you made this, I want to say functional, but not exactly functional, but it fits within the lifestyle of what we're probably already doing. We're just double
Right.
dipping. We're double dipping by doing these activities at the same time we would be doing something we're already going to be doing. Can you go through kind of, just some
Right.
of the types of activities and things that you would have them doing over the course of the 10-week plan?
Right. So if the person can associate the activity with we'll call it an exercise, even though in the book I try not to call it an
Nobody
exercise.
likes the word
Um,
exercise, so
no,
I'm
because
glad you
that
use the word
gives it a bad
activity. Yeah.
connotation. But the association is like a reminder. For instance, one of the very first ones is kitchen counter flat back. So when you're waiting for the toaster or the microwave or the water to boil, you're in the kitchen, you do this activity, which is really just creating traction through your spine. I won't describe it, but it's described in the book, of course. And that's really going to help with body awareness and the feeling of length and to understand the opposing forces, which are what a lot of balance is made of. For instance, in this flat back, you go out through your skull, but you go the opposite direction through your tail. So you're at the very end of the spine. So you're lengthening in opposite directions. And when you balance, you really kind of have to do that. You have to go down through your leg that you're standing on and go up through your spine and head. Otherwise, you're just have no dynamic. You're just sitting on your foot or standing on your foot without the opposing force that gives a connection and a dynamic for balancing. I don't really talk about that so much because it sounded too technical. I just try to give the experiences when it's associated with an activity like brushing your teeth. I have 5 different brushing your teeth balances that are progressively more challenging. And so everybody brushes their teeth, or at least we assume they do.
You should.
So they get to the first week, do brushing teeth balance number 1, and the second week, or maybe that doesn't happen until the second week because I did some other things to prepare first. I forgot. So those associations with activities like getting dressed and talking on the phone or texting, I made sure that it was something I thought that most people would do so that they go, oh yeah, when I do this, I stand this way and I do this experience. And by the end, that's for a week. And then by the end of that week, you've mastered it or gotten better at it. And you can go on to the next week. And then there's usually a new activity or a same one like the brushing teeth, just with a new progression.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of
sense?
like. Yeah, I liked it because as you said, you're brushing your teeth, you're at the counter, you're on the phone. All of those are normal daily activities. And with this, book, and there's not a ton of. I mean, we're talking, I think, no more than maybe 4 activities in any given week. But if you practice
Right.
those things, so a certain way that you're going to work your back or manage your glutes, or you're going to work with your feet, or look at and pay attention to your head, or at this point start balancing on one foot in a supported position, slightly supported, and then you're going to reduce that support. It's just this progression that over the course of the 10 weeks, you'll feel and see that you are improving because you're
And
practicing.
hopefully feel more confident and go out more and do more things and not restrict yourself according to what you think you're not capable of doing. So, yeah, and besides those 4 activities, there's also these sidebars, and one of them is your striding gait. And not every week, but some of the weeks, there's your striding gait sidebar which is some cue to use while you're walking, which is going to help connect and strengthen. For instance, one is that big toe push off I was talking about. So you cue yourself while you're walking to push off with your big toe to fall forward from one foot to the next, and just to be aware of that and practice it when you're walking. The other sidebar is relax and reward, and that's just some of the weeks have a relax and reward where you do kind of a very passive kind of stretch situation, like have your legs up the wall so that your hamstrings get a little feeling of spaciousness. So besides the 4 activities per week, there's these sidebars that crop up.
Yes.
So all of that works together.
Yeah. And they're great, well, I know putting your sock on while you're still standing up, that was maybe what I would say was one of my favorites, along with, you call it something else with when you crisscross your legs as you walk side to side.
Oh,
you called it.
You mean tightrope walking?
Well, it was, no, you were crossing over sideways. So you're moving sideways. So your right foot goes slightly.
Lateral. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because people lose their ability to step side. Because think about it, we're always going forward. And then when you do have a stumble, you are so inexperienced at stepping sideways or having to step backward. So again, it's practice. It's, there's a little thing where every time you get to this certain hallway in your home, that you step to the side, meaning, laterally.
Yeah.
And then you get more comfortable with that. And you've increased your range of transferring your center of gravity sideways, not just forward like we do when we walk, as we're, accustomed to.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about things you do and don't do. I mean, if you're walking through, a grocery store or Walmart parking lot, and you start walking through there and the car just doesn't see you and you're walking forward, your only choice perhaps is to move to the side. And so you need to be generally confident and competent that you can just kind of take that side step so the driver hopefully sees you, but you don't fall, because that's maybe even worst case. So, we're just going to have these
them or something.
We have these obstacles in our lives, and we don't want to limit our lives. So this is great if you're working on your balance, if you're doing these exercises, because every one of them is great. I did, like I said, I had a couple favorites, and I won't ask you what your favorite is, because I know people don't like picking between the babies. But I do have a question I want to ask, and it can be from the book or it can be from anywhere. But I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Well, I wish I had some cute slogan or some inventive quick fix, but really it's about building a lifestyle around healthy living. So if you wanted to be a farmer, you'd live on a farm. But people think in theory they want to be healthier, they want to have a better diet, or they want to have more activity. But it's a theory. You have to really change the real circumstances of your life. For instance, if you like to dine out, find the healthier places to go, maybe not the salty, fatty, pizza place or something like that, and make that really part of even your social life. In the book at the end, I give this little pep talk and say, try a marching band, try croquet, find, and it's a little tongue in cheek, because basically I'm saying find something that engages you, that's active, so that you can get your balance practice. Like say the Tai Chi is the perfect example, because they've done so many studies with Tai Chi. In the park, this improves your balance because you're standing, you're moving. It really doesn't take much. Ping pong would be great. Just find something that makes a fun, engaging thing, and then cultivate your friends and relationships around that framework. Really make a lifestyle change if that's what's necessary.
Yes. Thank you for that, really. Now, the book is Better Balance for Life. Carol, if someone wanted to learn more about the book, learn more about you, where would you like for me to send them?
Well, I'm having a meeting with someone tomorrow about creating a website for sort of the book and myself. So I don't have that yet. The book actually is released on November 20th. So you can order it on Amazon or Indie Books or Barnes & Noble, but it won't actually go out until November 20th, which is right around the corner.
Yes.
So right now, I would say wait a while and try the website or contact me through the publisher.
Okay. Well, Carol, if you'll do this, we'll stay in touch. And when the book is available, we'll have a link to the book for sure. When your website's available, I'll have a link to your website.
That would be great.
In the show notes, then go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/357. And I'll be sure to have those links there as soon as they're available. Carol, thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Carol. Balance is something that I'm going to be focusing much more time on as far as my fitness routines go. And I hope you do too. Falling, hurting ourselves, the numbers are just astronomical. So it is something that you need to be aware of and something that we do need to focus on as we get older. I wanted to give you an opportunity. I had originally only offered to my mailing list and then to my clients, but I thought, hey, you might be on the fence and thinking maybe you want to try some online personal training. So through December 25th, kind of Christmas, I will be offering you an opportunity to train as a part of our group training for just $1. Yes, your first month is only $1. Normally $75, so it's a pretty steep little discount there. A Christmas gift from me to you. I want to be a part of your health and fitness routines. I want to be a part of you getting well as we get into the new year, and there's no better time to start than now. So go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group-training. Again, that's 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group-training. Now, when you click on the button to go to the sign up page, there you'll use coupon code podcast. And so you go again to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group-training. And then from there, when you go in to buy, use the coupon code podcast. That'll save you $74. So basically, you're going to get your first month of training for just $1. And that's full access to everything that my group trainees have: the portal, the exercises, the programming, the weekly Q&A calls, all of it. You'll be a part of that, and just check it out. Don't have to continue if you don't want to, but I believe you're going to see I'm giving you enough value that it's well worth the cost, the investment. So again, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group-training. Use coupon code podcast at checkout. Also, wanted to let you know that the book, The Wellness Roadmap, is just about to drop live. As this goes live on December 3rd, the book will go live tomorrow. So you can go ahead and pre-order that book. It's an ebook you can pre-order. You can order the other ones to get them as well. Right now, there's listed a hardbound and a paperback. The ebook is submitted, and the audiobook is submitted, and it should be out there really, really soon. So you can go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/book. Or you can just go to Amazon and search for Alan Meisner or the Wellness Roadmap, and you can find the book that way. But if you just want an easy way to get there, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/book. Thank you. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we have a listener Q&A episode. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.